Here is what happened when I met Iggy, Josh, Matt and Dean, collectively known as the Iggyots.
Gentlemen, it's an honour and a privilege to have you here. I guess I should address you as the Iggy Pop Band 2016, is that right?
Feels good to me.
We've been calling ourselves the Iggyots.
Yeah.
Iggy and the Iggit now.
The Iggyots, that's good. For the benefit of the Beats One listeners, my name's Matt Wilkinson. I'm joined here by four rock and roll warlords, Mr. Josh Homme, Dean Fertita, Iggy Pop, and Matt Helders. And you're looking well. The thing I got when you came in is that sometimes when people get together, you get the impression that they leave the gig or the interview or the studio and then they don't talk to each other. With you guys, you seem really relaxed, there's positive vibes, it's a bit of a gang-like mentality.
Yeah, we've done time together.
You've done time.
Yeah. I landed my long johns once.
How did that work out?
I still got them. I'm wearing them right now.
So we're here for, it's a very special occasion, the album Post-Pop Depression. I've had it about 10 days. I think it's a great piece of work. It's instantly, the first time I heard it, the hairs on the back of my neck still on end. The second, third, fourth time, little things came out. I think it's right up there with your best work.
Yes.
Really, in
It
a
sure
way.
is.
It really reminds me of your Berlin work.
Among other things, I sent Joshua a detailed description of how those records were made, because I knew he liked them, and I also thought he had the talent to put something together at that level.
So take us right back to the start. How did it come about? Who contacted who?
I texted him, said I thought maybe we could write something and record it. Signed it, because he didn't have my number. It had been years since I met him at a Krang Awards. We were asked to form a daisy chain with Marilyn Manson for the cover of the, so we sort of, well, okay, hi, nice to meet you. And,
Now hold me.
Yeah, but, so anyway, I texted him, he texted back favorably.
Yeah, I was able to mask my sort of, so I wrote, that would be wonderful. But really, I kind of just wanted to throw my phone because I thought someone was messing with me, but it was actually...
So I wrote him back, I'll come to you. And then I said, I'm now a baritone. Yes.
There's something you should know about me.
Yeah, that's right. It was kind of like that,
So hang on, you wrote a bunch of...
Those exact words, yeah.
But you said you wrote a bunch of essays or something?
I had saved, about halfway through, we'd had a conversation.
It was a very productive conversation.
Yeah, about what we didn't want to do. We didn't want to take anyone's money. We didn't want a record person up our ass. And we were willing to use our own funds, and we didn't want to define anything or put it in a box or say if it was going to be an album or a documentary of a disaster or whatever it was going to be, no type of music, anything like that. So I sent him a package on me, but on paper,
the
in
Iggy
print.
Pop package.
Yeah, and it was...
Well, it was cast this really wide net of interests, and it incorporated things that we'd talked about the night before, and it was really inspiring, and it was a diverse layout of interests.
Sex life, furniture, German trivia, things other people had written about me. So I talked at a school once, and they wrote amusing things.
But from a community college.
Miami-Dade Community College has about 75,000 students and a very large faction of first-generation Americans, young kids who just getting into it, and they've come from elsewhere. I spoke to them.
But it was cool because they were like,
yeah.
This Iggy Pop.
Yeah, and then they were required to write about it.
It's like, wow, he seems to have sung a lot of songs. It's like, he knows really cool.
One of them said he likes to wear a vest, and it was funny to see a man with his six-pack at his real age. So it's stuff like that. Another one wrote, he started out the essay, Iggy Pop is Iggy Pop because he has been lucky, which is pretty accurate, So it was just different stuff. I sent him that. I sent him some poetry, this sort of thing.
What kind of stuff?
Well, the poetry was one was about You know, the kind of feelings you have when you've all these wonderful things are happening to you, but you don't have anybody to share it with. Another one was about my chairs. Yeah, I've had my chairs longer than I've had anything. My oldest chair is from 1983 when I acquired it, but I also have that's an African chair, and I have a Norman throne from 14th century. I have 34 old chairs.
Wow.
And because I didn't have a real fixed domicile until I was pushing 40, I like to go and sit in each of my chairs. If I start on one, I haven't sit in you, I can sit in you. And I feel better, I feel more rooted.
Cherished.
Yeah.
So you get this dossier about chairs and poetry and everything. And
sex, too.
Sex. Don't forget the sex. And then what do you do with that? You're kind of sitting there. I presume no one's done that before.
Well,
and kind of approached an album in that way.
You had used the phrase in a text shortly before that, let me wrap my mind around it.
It was a really inspiring kind of first conversation, and then it really launched my brain into where I couldn't sleep at night. There was enough stuff in the package that my mind exploded with color, you know. And I did what any sane person would do. I didn't respond for 3 months, no. Well, because frankly, I didn't know what to send back, and I was really overcome with, what do I send, my own poetry?
I thought he was grossed out.
You were like mortally offended like that.
No, I was
finally,
just sort of,
thank goodness for Brody. Thank goodness for Brody. I said, I haven't said anything back. Does that make me seem like a dick? And she was like, absolutely. And I was like, I was like, I need to send something, and I have these ideas. So I called them and said, I'm sending you 2 demos and 2 poems. The demos sound awful. There's mistakes all over them. But I kind of waited till after he said, I got my plane ticket, because just in case.
Yeah, I had my ticket already.
He's sending me stuff thinking I'm believing he's grossed me out or something, and I'm sending these demos, which clearly should be hated. But the truth is that it was one of the most wonderful pieces of mail I've ever received.
When I think of you, I think of your career almost in eras, where you have the Stooges period, you have the Berlin period, you have the period where you were kind of anointed as a punk godfather without really being in it. Then there's the New York period, then there's the stuff you did in the 90s, Preliminaires is a great album. I've thought you've always been really, really constant. What I really want to know is where this album sits. Is it the start of a new era? Is it the closing of an old era? What do you think it is?
I feel like I'm closing up after this. That's what I feel.
What, everything?
Well, no. I'd do more like if you call me and you want to work out a deal to come and sing happy birthday at your mother's, something like that, I'll refer you to someone.
Get your number.
I'll refer you to someone. Might not do it, but I'll tell you somebody who will.
That's sort of where I see myself.
But he's a baritone.
Yeah, so. I'm a baritone.
I can live with that.
To really make a real album, you really have to put everything into it. And the energy's more limited now. I think that's why a lot of especially the older reunion ones where they all don't like each other, they just we'll go do a gig and play the old songs, because to do the new stuff takes a lot of energy. So I may be surprised if the one thing, I'm not used to putting out an album and anybody getting with it in quicker than 25 years. 25 years. Hey.
You do have the longest time release.
Yeah, I have a long time release. So it may be, maybe it'll open a door. But I wanted to make sure, I thought I had to come up with some goods at this point. And the kind of artist I am, I've got something I can bring, but it's really about other people I can put together.
So that's so special then, isn't it?
I'm kind of a fan. Too, I like to hang out, I like to be in bands, I like to hang around musicians.
On that thought, tell me a little bit about Rancho de la Luna, because that's where a chunk of the album was recorded, right? And I know that place
definitely was an important place to start, because you don't want to make too many rules, but you need to understand what direction you're going to start going in. And I think, for us saying, you were in the Stooges, I'm in Queens, let's not make a rock record. What's the point? Let's not box it up.
It's run by a musician,
yeah.
sweet guy.
It's a kind of a compound with 3 houses on it. They're all very small and very esoteric. And if you were to get it turn your house into a studio, it's all the don'ts. 2 wrongs will make a right, but 40 wrongs make an incredible in that sense.
I guess it goes back to what you said earlier about getting away from record industry people and people putting their, you can just go there, 4, 5, 6 people, lock yourself away, right?
But even before that, this agreement to keep it a secret was, if nobody understands you're making a record, who are you making it for? Yourself.
That gives you real freedom, doesn't it?
It's a little bit
fail.
like the Explorers
It's a
Club,
win.
actually,
Yeah.
La Luna. I mean, you feel that. You're kind of out there. It says a lot of dust. The funny trees, the Joshua trees, and there's a 2-lane blacktop, and then that's that big road to nowhere out there, the U.S. road, and then it's just sort of a dirt track up to the place, you know what I mean?
It's nice to tell people, you drive, and when the road stops, keep going.
So we had 3 houses on the property.
And you were cooking for each other and all that stuff?
Well, we asked my friend Hutch, who's the sound man of Queens and done a lot of our artwork.
He did it for us.
Because the food in the high desert is, for the most part, disgusting, but in a terrible way. So we asked Hutch, would he cook for us, and he's a good cook, and if something happens, you're recording, and you have to walk to this other house. In that walk, that breath of fresh air, walking together, you kind of have these epiphanies or realizations about what you just were doing. And then you're eating together, you kind of become like a gang, and as much work gets done in those moments as gets done down.
Yeah, right, but it's so important. It must be rare. I imagine if you're recording at Abbey Road or somewhere like that, you finish, you clock off, you clock on again. You guys, it's 24 hours.
Yeah, well, this is it.
Well, the cell phones don't work that well. I guess the thing is that you're there, and there's really not much else to do. The views are beautiful, the people are a little bizarre, and the sites that are there are kind of perverse. People left to their own devices. And so when you're doing something in secret, you really have the chance to let yourself go. And I think after you've been eating, walking, living, you kind of develop a trust that's conducive to making something.
It's possible.
Good.
I never thought about this at the time, but it's possible also that there was a guy cooking for us. Actually cook. We did not have to prepare the food or clean it up. Who was, he's a good sound engineer and a cool guy, and his lady helped with it. And the fact that they did so implies that, okay, to earn that, you are supposed to be some kind of musician, and you better go make some music.
Yeah, we got to do for each other here. I can't just,
it's kind of, in a way, however you're feeling that morning. If your little pinky ring fell off or you got a booger in your nose, well, it's too bad, Whereas maybe if you're staying in the Hyatt with the room service, you walk out of there a little more ready to be self-indulgent, a little more ready to say, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I feel like this today.
It's $1,800 a day.
Yeah, right.
It's sort of the gift of nothing.
You get a nice rhythm going that way. I think.
Break Into Your Heart, which is the opening track, one of the standouts. To me, it kind of sounds like Desert Sessions meets like Motor City Punk. In a way, it's a real merging of those two worlds.
Well, I think it's certainly on a very base level. If you said, okay, we're all making a record, an Iggy Pop record together, we're his band, and that you might quickly assume something, and I think that song sort of says, no, that's whatever you thought it was, it's not. I think it sets a really good tone, and it's also the first thing once we talk.
He came up with, yeah.
And what's wonderful is that first song has to, in a recording session, it has to go well, or you should probably split.
Yeah.
And we just he writes lyrics immediately. The amount of times I've labored over 2 lines for months going, come on, and watching him have a bunch of great stuff and say, this is not good, but a good lyric will find its way in. I was like, of course it will find,
Otherwise, you're going to be going, that's horrible all the time. You need you need some words.
Tell us a little bit about the live stuff as well, because this isn't just an album which is just going to exist as the album. You're going on tour. There's a bunch of dates. You know, it's a proper.
Well, there
project,
isn't a bunch of
it?
dates.
That's a bunch of dates.
That's
To
like,
me.
but
You know what? It's a lot of dates, dude.
we're going on some dates. The reason I say it's not tons of dates is because
it's not tons of dates.
It's special, just like the making of this is really special, and frankly, most people will not get to see it because there's just
too few.
And also we agreed to play places that we thought looked beautiful, and maybe a bit of infiltration, like where don't we belong exactly?
And you're going to do a few Iggy classics as well as the album stuff?
We already know. Well, I guess you know more of them now, don't you?
Which ones? Give us a
I'm glad you asked, because we're not going to tell you.
We'll wait and see.
I've sung Lust for Life, Passenger, and Success with them.
How was that? How was that playing with him, singing
those? Sounded really bloody good.
I mean, try not to show the big dumb grimaces on our face, like, there was some large dumb grimaces on each of our faces. How do you feel about all that?
Great. I mean, Lust for Life was obviously a bit of a, I can't like fumble that. I've got to start it as it means to go on. So it was, yeah.
Who came up with Post-Pop Depression as the title?
Yeah. Why? It's Dean's fault.
Was it true? Was it did Iggy leave and you're all kind of like, oh man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it was, it was over before it started. I think for a lot of us, we felt like this whole thing, this whole experience is going to be gone before we fully understand it and can appreciate it almost, And when the recording sessions were winding down, I think we just felt like that's what was going on,
Yeah, and also, this will never happen again. And there's something beautiful about that, to be in a moment in time. And he keeps, saying, well, I don't know if I'm going or not. And it's like, oh, well, we won't be the only ones that have post-pop depression, if that's true.
It's an amazing album. I mean, your voice is sounding so strong. Not all of your contemporaries, there's no one else who really sounds like the angry young man or woman they were in the 60s or 70s. You still do. You've still got that. I don't know how you've managed to do it. And with this album, the music that you've provided has kind of, it's elevated it and made it special.
The music's a lot of it, and he pushed hard as a producer. I would do takes, and I'd think, hey, boy, that's great. No, that's not as good. You can do better than that. There was a lot of that, and there was one particularly in the lobby, and I did it just once. I thought, that's right there. And then the next morning, he's like, all right, now we're going to work on the vocal. Like, what? Whoa, what? And it was a little bit like, oh, it's not, it's not good enough. He says, look, it needs to be, we got to make it as good as it could be. And sure enough, he was listening to what I was doing with enough care to detail, and because he's a fine singer and musician and not the other kind of producer, he could explain to me what he liked and what he wanted me to do. So that was part of it. The other part is I started doing these Chinese breathing exercises about 20 years ago. In fact, it's been 1990, 25 years now, and it just helps your lungs get stronger. I quit smoking at the turn of the century, so I kind of got stronger in that department too. That's part of it. And I'm still angry.
You are angry.
Yeah,
the themes of the album are kind of getting annoyed with the realism of society today. There's lyrics about laptops and about executives and things.
Yeah,
but
I also think there's moments of that, but there's really sublime moments of reflection, and
yes,
you can't know the answers to everything, but you certainly can't get anywhere if you don't ask the right questions. And I think things like American Valhalla and Chocolate Drops, songs like that, it's hard to find another situation where someone making a record at this point in his life that resonates to me this will resonate with young people, middle-aged people, and people in their 60s. It doesn't matter. And I think that voicing isn't always heard. I mean, tell me, what's the other person that's doing that?
This was advanced class for me, doing this record.
I mean, it's an incredible story. The album's fantastic. It just, it feels lucky that you guys got together and the stars aligned and we got this album.
I feel that way, definitely.
I would have made tea for this session for free. I'm very proud of this and the way everyone played. Dean, his guitar playing style is like, what's the least I can play to get this across? So there's space and emptiness and boom, you know, this kind of ferocious moments. And like, you can't really teach that. You either know that or you don't know that. To serve songs and leave emptiness is wonderful. And so it puts this framework around that voice, which immediately you go, oh, it sounds like it's
It's unreal. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, man.